every once in a while, things happen in your life that just turn it upside down. Well, Matthew certainly experienced that. Levi, we read Levi. His name is Matthew in the other gospel accounts, but Matthew is sitting at the tax collector's table, and can you imagine what he's thinking as he's sitting there collecting taxes? He's not collecting taxes from Roman citizens, is he? He himself, not only is he a Jew collecting taxes from other Jews, he's got the name Levi, so that would imply what about him? From whose tribe is he anyway? Most likely, the priestly tribe of Levi, right? He's named Levi. Now, this is one of the children of Abraham's name that he bears, or grandchildren of Abraham that he bears, Levi. But what's he doing? And how do people feel about him now as he collects their taxes? And what did tax collectors of the first century typically do when they collected taxes? They got filthy rich from the taxes they collected. You say, okay, the person owes $20, but they would charge them $40, and they would give 20 to the Romans and pocket 10. And then the Romans paid them a salary as well. I mean, they'd overtax. Did I say that wrong? I'm going to guess that none of you know what this feels like right now. Oh, boy. Well, okay. So, I have no clue. I was a communication major, not a math major, right? Okay, so you heard what I said and you knew what I meant, so take that for what it's worth. Literally. So he took this $40 and he pocketed $20 and he sent $20 to the Roman Empire, and then received salary from them on top of it all. So tax collectors sometimes were among the wealthiest in the community, and the people felt toward them in what way? The name traitor comes to mind. Filth comes to mind. Samaritan dog comes to mind. They were even considered worse than Samaritans. These are people who turned their back on their own people, supporting an oppressive government with the taxes and getting rich on the process. And Jesus approaches the table, and you can hear as he says, I'd like to ask you something. And people were watching. What's Jesus going to do here with this filthy Samaritan dog? Tax collecting traitor. What's he going to do here? I'd like you to follow me. And then Jesus walks away. And Matthew leaves everything and starts following Jesus. It's a decision that very similar to his decision to take on this occupation with the Roman government is going to turn his world, well, I'm going to have to say it this way, it's going to turn his world right side up because it has been turned upside down. I believe that this man had been sitting for days, months, years, however long he was a tax collector, always questioning the major decision he made in his life. Why did I choose this occupation? I can't do anything else. I'm already stained as a traitor. I might as well continue doing this. Well, if I'm going to take money from my own people and give it to the Roman government, I might as well benefit from it. Perhaps these things go through his mind. It certainly did Zacchaeus's, didn't it? Remember what he said? If I have stolen from anyone, if I had stolen from anyone, I'll give them back 4 times as much. I'll give half of all I own to the poor, and I'll give back, if I've stolen, I'll give them back 4 times, which is what the law requires. You give back 4 times what you steal. Here's the point. This demoralization that he experienced as a tax collector, you can just kind of feel the weight of it. And the reason I know you can feel that, because you've been in that kind of valley before, haven't you? You've been in that decision valley of despair, doom and despair, right? Princess Bride quote, by the way. The doom and despair that you experience in the valley is a normal result of very poor decisions that you've made. It is such a shame that we have to experience the consequences of our own stupidity sometimes. But we put ourselves in situations where, now that I've made this decision, I've got this kind of consequence I'm going to have to deal with. Are you tracking with me so far? Because when Jesus came to Matthew, you've got to understand, Levi Matthew is contemplating in his own mind, maybe even how much longer is he going to stay alive. And you reach a point of despair in the results of your own decisions, and you wonder, would it be better if I just took my own life? I mean, the only friends I have are, and they're not much of a friend to be in. You know, my life is a mess. I made my bed, I'll sleep in it. But how much longer can I sleep here anyway? And the light of the world steps on the scene and gives him hope. And he says 2 words. Follow me. Follow me. And he knows that's a call to a whole new lifestyle of learning something that he's never understood. Well, what that is yet, he does not know. But he's about to embark on one of the biggest journeys of his life that's going to turn his world right side up. And he's actually going to be the gospel writer that is the first gospel of the New Testament scriptures. Matthew. What's this first thing to do when his life begins to turn as he begins this journey with Jesus? What's the first thing he does? He throws a Jesus party is what he did. He absolutely, by the way, somebody asked me, am I wearing Green Bay colors for a reason? Are they playing? I'm so out of, who's it playing today anyway? Thank you for telling. Patriots where are they from? Patriots and Falcons? Okay. I am so out. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it. But, you know, some of you are going to watch it. And I don't know what I'm going to do at halftime. Somebody suggested maybe we ought to turn off the halftime show over protest or something. I'm not sure that's the thing. I will say this. I think there's a lady performing. Lady. Funny, that's part of her name, lady. Maybe the rest of it makes sense, too. There are decisions we make that you have the consequences of. And the decisions that she made. You know, they're taking odds as to whether or not she's going to say something against Trump on live TV in front of millions of people. And I didn't put money on that, but if I were a betting man, I would bet that she will. And I am. And if anybody wants to text me up when I'm ready to put... I just want to say, that lady who is no Lady Gaga will... will say something probably, or even if she doesn't. Let's say that she doesn't, but the anticipation is there. So that in the minds of millions of people, they're going to hear her say whether she says it or not. You say, well, should I watch and support or should I not? Here's my recommendation for that. And you don't have to follow my recommendation because I'm not God. I'm not Pope. I'm running for Pope next year. I'm not. It's a joke. Okay. But I would recommend you pray for her. If you consider her an enemy and a traitor or whatever against the state, whatever you say, I'd recommend you pray for her. You know, she's got a great voice. She does have some things to say to this culture. There are people who are going to listen. You need to respond. I'm not saying this is a political statement because I don't think that's my role. I am saying this as a think it through statement. You've got to work this out with your relationship with the Lord. But I draw it to your attention because it's those minor decisions now that are going to be approached and informed how? By your walk with Jesus. See, Matthew's going to learn a whole new way of thinking now. And he starts this journey with Jesus with this. Hey, guys, come together and let's have supper. I have somebody I want you to meet. The first thing he did was think of his closest friends, if you can call them that, acquaintances anyway, and invite them over to supper so they have a chance to meet Jesus. I encourage people when they first become Christians, think of the 5 people in your life right now. Think of who you know who do not know the Lord and let them know what you just did and why you did it. That you surrendered your life to Jesus. And they're going to say, what? And I was baptized into Christ, and my sins were forgiven, and I started a new life following Jesus, and what a great opportunity. I mean, it's a public statement to begin with, right? Baptism is an announcement to the world, I surrender to Jesus, I am now dead, and I'll continue to live in a dead life. I love that illustration. By the way, I don't think I've ever heard glowworm and communion at the same time. Brilliant. Well, if it stays in the light long enough. Brilliant. But I really appreciated that and the creativity of what you said and how it, in your own, in the prayer. Now I feel like I need to take a sidestep again and just mention this. It was already mentioned there's a new class starting, and it started today in apologetics. And they're going to be focusing for several weeks to months in apologetics. What is apologetics? Husbands, relax. It is not learning how to say effectively, I'm sorry. That's not apologetics. What apologetics is learning what is the defense of the gospel of Christ. What is the defense of there is a God, that the Bible is His Word, it is authoritative in our lives. Scientific, archaeological, geographical, biographical, and all the other evidences that support and help us understand that the Bible is true and reliable, and it is the Word of God, and Jesus was nailed to the tree, and He was raised from the dead. The empty tomb can be explained no other logical way than Jesus Christ was raised from the dead. I put my life on that. I put my future on that. And that has claimed my heart and informed me to make other kinds of choices. Because at that early stage in my life, at 19, it was being fully convinced that Jesus Christ died and He was raised from the dead, and that everything in the Bible I can trust from here on, if that's true. And if that's true, that lays total claim on my life. If it's not true, then the Bible's simply a good philosophical book, and it's okay to live by it, but there are other philosophies as well. It's just another religion. But if Jesus Christ is raised from the dead, this is real stuff. And we're looking at this 2,000 years past, reading the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, about the call of Matthew to follow him. So anyway, Benjamin and Michael are co-teaching, and Bill Pubels may be a part of that. We're still working on how that's going to look, but whether it's going to be now or a few months from now as he completes his PhD. But I just want to emphasize that class is going on in the fellowship hall. The other adult class is happening here, as Stan and a group that he's pulling together will teach the Genesis class. And I'm teaching the teenage class now, so pray for me, would you? Yes, you're just going to make me younger. I like that. I need that. So Matthew, back having caught those rabbits, and I think they're rabbits that needed to be emphasized. Hear me now. I'm going to hop to it. We're going to look now at Matthew's call to his friends to meet Jesus. Because in the valley of his own despair, he has seen a bit of hope and light, and he wants to offer the same to his friends. It's interesting that people notice your lifestyle, and your nonverbal speaks a lot. And so people come up and say, why is he eating with those kind of folks? What kind of folks? Sinners and tax collectors. Two terms usually used together, right? But sinners, with the quotation marks as you see in most of your translations. By the way, the Greek text does not use quotation marks, but that's probably there. Not just air marks, but true quotation marks. Sinners and tax collectors. Who are these? Sinners and tax collectors. Probably prostitutes. Probably the ones that are singing and stripping down the bar down the road. They're the ones. And Jesus was hanging out with them. eating supper with them. If we saw him eating supper and drinking and partying, I mean, I think he's having fun. I don't know about you, but I think Jesus had loads of fun at these parties. And was he there at the strip club? No. Was he there with the prostitutes seeking their service? No. Was he spending time with them where they were? Yes. Did he have fun with that? Yes. Did people accuse him? Yes. Would we have him preach the following Sunday? Well, we would 2,000 years removed. I'm talking about we're there and we see him do this. We're there and we see him spending this joyful, laughing, eating time together with those kind of people. Those kind of people we would not allow our children to hang out with. Those kind of people we would not lift up as examples. Those kind of people who are suffering the results, the valley of despair results of their own stupid decisions. Those kind of people that Jesus not only accepted the invitation to, but eagerly sought spending time with. And they said, why is he spending that kind of time with those kind of people? And Jesus knows what they're asking, and he says, let me ask you this. Who goes to the doctor? The ones who are sick and know it, or the ones who are sick and don't know it? Now, you may say, well, that's not exactly what he said. Isn't that what he meant by what he said? Who goes? That's my mother, I'm not here. He says, if you're sick and you know it, you're going to seek help from the doctor. And these are the people who are coming to me for help. And if you're sick and you don't know it, you're not going to be looking to the doctor. Your pride will keep you from it. So I'm, of course, going to be among the people who are sick. And by the way, you follow this through and you see Jesus challenges them not only in reaching to the people who were unlovely, unlovable, and hard to forgive. Not only did he reach them with his own love and hope and challenged the religious leaders with that, but he also challenged their religious traditions. Do you notice this as you read the Gospels fresh with me? Do you notice that Jesus is turning people's world right side up? Or at least challenging them where they are? And whatever thinking, their worldview, they had God boxed so well and defined so well. And these are the things that are acceptable and these are the things that are unacceptable. And working on the Sabbath is unacceptable. Is that true? Yes. Working on the Sabbath is unacceptable. But what they had done was taking work on the Sabbath and defined it that if a woman were to tie a thread with one knot, that's okay. But if she ties the second knot, that's work. Because once she's threaded the needle and ties the thread once, that's okay. She hasn't fixed the thread yet to sew with. But when she ties the second knot, she has fixed the thread. Now she can sew. And that starts work. So to keep from breaking the law of God of working, let's break it down to the minor laws. And so here's what they did. They collected heads of grain. They rubbed it together, which is getting the outer hull off of the grain. And then they popped the grain in their mouth while they were walking. They were harvesting and milling and eating from their own labor on the Sabbath. And the Pharisees, the religious leaders, were condemnatory of this action. And they said, what's up with this? They're breaking. And Jesus doesn't defend them with the typical defense. Besides saying, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, or Sabbath wasn't made for man, or rather, man was not made for the Sabbath, rather Sabbath for the man. Right? Man was not created for the law. The law was given for people. So that was his point. But he defends it. Remember the passage? Let's pull that back up again. Can you get that one verse, Terry, where he says, have you not read in your own law what David did? Whenever he was out with his men and they were so hungry, they went to the tabernacle and they ate of the bread that they were not permitted to eat. Do you realize that only the priest of God, interestingly enough, we just left Levi, from the tribe of Levi could only eat of the showbread that was there in the tabernacle. And he says, he entered into the house of God in the time of Abiathar, the high priest, and ate the sacred bread, which is not lawful for anyone to eat except the priest. Now, that's not an extra law around the law. That's the actual law of God, and David broke it. And it said also, he not only ate, he gave it to his companions to eat. He's justifying that what the disciples did by looking at David, and what he did and what David did is no way justifiable by the law. Is it justifiable? Well, his question would be, which is lawful, to do good or to do evil on the Sabbath? What is the law made for? It's to serve. But I think there's another argument to be made here about why Jesus would do this, and you can take it or leave it. But Jesus is the Messiah, and the Messiah was understood to be who? The son of who? The son of David. His reference here to David, I think, is a direct reference so that people would make a connection in their mind. If David did that with the showbread, and the disciples do this with Jesus' leadership, and the Messiah is the son of David, Jesus is saying, I'm only doing what my daddy did. He's not really breaking the law, though, is he? Is Jesus breaking the law? Or his disciples breaking the law? No. But they're breaking a tradition. So Jesus is challenging the religious traditions of the leader of that day. And he will continue to do the same with us in our traditions and our preconceived ideas. Because we fit tradition as to what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in this hour that we call worship. And we say you can't sing during communion. That's not proper. You can't, while you're taking the bread, you can't have two acts of worship. I grew up with church like that. It's tradition. Where in the world does the Bible say you only have these acts of worship that you can do one at a time in the assembly? Where does it say anything about the assembly even being worship? Find me that one first, and then let's talk about what you can or cannot do in the assembly of worship. Find me where we're called even to worship. The whole point is this. Jesus challenges our traditional view of what it is to approach God and to approach life, to deal with people, and to handle our own times of despair when we question inside, is life even worth going on? Man shows up at the synagogue and his hand is withered. He becomes now the political hot spot of thought and discussion. They didn't ask, can Jesus heal him? Isn't that cool? Will he heal him on the Sabbath? Not will he heal him or not. Will he heal him here, now? And Jesus asked, which is better to do, good or evil on the Sabbath? They didn't even answer. Because I think they didn't answer because they knew that whichever way they went. Well, it's good to do evil on the Sabbath. That's not the answer. It's a question kind of like, did you stop beating your wife yet? You can't answer that yes or no. It was a yes or no answer, and they knew when they answered it the way it was supposed to be answered, it would have challenged their heart. They could not look at it differently. Now listen carefully. Simply because you hear something that is different than what you presently believe does not mean, number one, it's wrong, and does not mean, number two, you have to stop thinking this through. Maybe God is turning something over in your world to challenge your way of thinking. How do you approach Him? How do you approach people? How do you approach yourself when you're in this valley of change and despair? I find it interesting as we wrap this up that Jesus, Mark, Matthew, Luke, all three said, He saw the stubbornness of their hearts. We can get so stubborn. We can get so stubborn. If you're asked the question about some major decisions you're right in the middle of making today, and you recognize God in no way condones the decision that I'm making here, And yet, I've already started this course. I have to finish it through. I'm creating a hypothetical. Tell me if it fits your life or not. If it doesn't, great. Apply it to somebody else. We do that all the time. We're experts at it. I want you to take this and apply it to you. Is this really God's will for me right now? Is this what's best for my family? Is this what's best for... So I get more money and I get more, but is it right to uproot my kids and is it best? Is God calling me to do this? And what does he want for me now? And am I going to be faithful even when it's painful? So God has, his number one goal for you is not that you be happy, that you be faithful. We can be so stubborn that once we start down a particular road, we just don't hear anything, and then we justify ourselves in making the decisions that we make. Which, by the way, you can't do something wrong without justifying it. Listen to yourself. Just take some time. Listen to yourself in the decision processes that you make. And I'm suggesting to you that when you sincerely, completely, from the heart, surrender and follow Jesus, which is not just a one-time action. I'm not suggesting that you're not. I'm just saying that as you continue to struggle in your surrender to Jesus from the heart, then ask, not what would Jesus do? What does he want me to do right now? And from your heart, make that decision. As painful as it may be, or as stubborn less and pride less in humility. Surrender to his will. He will not allow status quo in our lives. You're in the process of changing, or you're dead. There is no middle ground. See, growing means change. And if you're the same as you were 20 years ago, 15, 30, whatever, where's the growth? Growing means change. I'm not just talking about mental change. We're good at that. I accept new truths. I believe this is right. I'm talking about it becomes a valuable thing to me, and I put it into practice. So here's where I'm going to challenge you. As you walk with Jesus, watch him lead you to positions of change. Caleb said, in the depths of the valley, he's present. He hadn't left you. I'm going to take it one step further. He leads you there. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Just because you're going through a painful time doesn't mean, number one, you didn't make the right decisions. Otherwise, there would be no cross for any of us. When you make a decision and it turns sour, that doesn't mean Christ has left you. The shepherd is still leading. Trust him. Trust him. And watch what changes in your life as his Spirit works within you to apply his word in a new and fresh way. He calls you to be new from the inside out. Lord, I pray that you will take what you did with Matthew and do that with us. And I pray that you will take what you did in challenging people's view of the Sabbath, and you will do that with us. And I pray that you will change our views to match your views, that we would rise above and get a 30,000-foot view of our life from your perspective, and that it would change our hearts. And one last thing I'm asking, Lord, that you would do whatever it takes to make us more like you, and use us to do whatever it takes to help people come to know you, because we want you to be praised. We love you. And it's in your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. He is mighty to save. Let's stand and sing.